What have we lost in journalism, in your opinion?
Well, what I'm so sad about is the difficult place that newspapers are in this country. In a much simpler time, when I came into journalism, every town had 3 television stations, there were 3 networks, and a pretty good newspaper. And the information that people got from those 4 sources was the information on which they based their opinions. And sometimes maybe you didn't agree with the editorial policy of the newspaper, but you took for granted that what was on the front page was true. And that was the information, along with what you heard from Walter Cronkite and Huntley and Brinkley on the national networks. It was from those sources of information that you based your opinions. We all based our opinions on the same data, on the same facts. What's happened now, when you have like 700 choices on the channels, on the television, plus all of these sites on the web. If you listen to maybe this one over here, you may get one slant on things and one set of facts, and you listen to this one or read this one over here, you get a totally different set of facts and different opinions. What's happened is we're now basing our opinions on different data, on different facts. We're not basing it on commonly held facts, what a general majority of people believe. And that, I think, is the main reason and the cause for this really divide that we have. The country is very, very divided right now. I think I can say that, and most people here would agree. It may be the most divided that I can remember it in 46 years in Washington. The government has basically come to a halt. It remains in gridlock. It passes continuing resolutions. One group comes in and it stays in gridlock. Another group comes in and it stays in gridlock. And I think that's one of the reasons that the election came out the way that it did. I think that people just, they thought, well, this is the first time in our history that since the beginning of polling that we had a Republican and a Democrat that a majority of Americans neither liked nor trusted. That's never happened before, but it happened this time. And I think confronted with that situation, a lot of people said, well, why not just take a flyer on him? Maybe I don't like him all that much. I don't trust him all that much, but he's got a pretty good slogan. And the fact is, well, I don't think Donald Trump is a great politician, and I preface that by saying, yes, indeed, he did win the election. I don't think he's a great politician, but what he really has great insight into is television. And I think it was his ability to understand television and to understand the impact of getting on television early in the morning. I think he managed to, throughout this campaign, turn the attention back to him, no matter what the controversy going on at the time was. This is a very long answer, but it's something I think is very important. There's a political consultant down in Australia named Linton Crosby, and I write about this in the book. And he helped David Cameron in some of his campaigns in Great Britain. And he had this, what he called the theory of the dead cat. And it was, if you're having a dinner party, and no matter what everybody is talking about, if somebody throws a dead cat in the middle of the table, everybody immediately starts talking about the dead cat. And that's kind of a variation. I'm not sure Trump had ever heard of this theory, but that's kind of a variation of what he did. And with his tweets and with his early morning, he'd call into these talk shows. And I don't care what was going on, he would say something, and the next thing you know, everybody's reacting to him. And it would go on for the rest of the day. And he just overwhelmed first the Republicans and then later Hillary Clinton with these television appearances. And I called up Mika Brzezinski of the Morning Joe show one time during the campaign, and I said, you guys keep putting him on. Why don't you ever have Hillary Clinton on? And she said, she said, getting an interview with Hillary Clinton is like getting an interview with Mother Teresa, who's dead. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought that's right. I mean, we took a lot of heat for saying, well, he'd call in and you didn't push back when he was there. We pushed back, but he just kept doing it. He kept getting on. He figured out early on, if you offer yourself to a certain number of television programs, you're going to get on some of them. And he did. And then he'd get on and he'd say something outrageous, and then he'd get on some more. And while we were pushing back over his last appearance, he was starting off in a whole different direction over here. And I think that had a great deal to do with his winning. You know, she was running an old-fashioned, old-style campaign, heavy on consultants, concentrate on raising a lot of money, never put your candidate in a position where she might be asked a question she doesn't know the answer to. And in doing so, she kind of separated herself in an effort to separate herself off from the press. She separated herself off from voters. While he's just, here he goes again, you know, and he just kept the attention on himself. And in the end, I think it worked.